peasants and could go back. But I mean, you know, the skilled workers, the engineers and the machine builders and so on, they were just like workers, the same type of workers in other parts of the world. But that might have been the reason why, in fact, they were militant, but it still didn't alter the fact that they were in the country as a whole. They were in a minority, so they were not going to have their way. And as I say, their way was some sort of syndicalism. They wanted workers control factory committees to run the factories, which well, it wasn't going to work. But the Bolsheviks didn't let it work anyway, because the Bolsheviks were concerned. It's in fact, Trotsky's a bit of a hypocrite, because he says in here the provisional government called upon workers to work harder and increase productivity, and workers were right not to do it. But as soon as the Bolsheviks go into power, they face exactly the same problem, and they forced the workers to to work harder, and a bit like British Airways, the workers had to work free on a Saturday, for nothing and things like that. And, well, they took on responsibility for government, and that was one of the consequences. But you're right, the industry in Petersburg and some other places was fairly advanced.
Is there a difference in the definition of proletariat from what Marx wrote and from the Russian Revolution? Because when I talk to some people, they have differences in opinion of what the word proletariat means, and I just
so we don't normally use the word proletariat because it sounds odd, but we don't normally use the word bourgeoisie either. But I mean, the proletariat came from the time of the French Revolution, when somebody in ancient Rome, they had the proles, and all they gave to the state was their children. They were popular, so the word proletariat came into being to mean poor people, and then I suppose in Marxist things it comes to mean exactly the same as what we would call the working class, anybody that's forced by economic necessity to go out and try to find an employer. So when we use the word proletariat, it would be a fancy word for the wage and salary working class. Well, yeah, I think that's how even Lenin would have used it, because they do a distinction between the proletariat and the peasants.
Yeah, because with the proletariat, the industrialised working class, and then they amounted to about 10%.
Yes, yes.
So they were like proletariat, which origins were this is the person who gives their children away.
Well, look, it's got no profit except for their children.
But who was poor was then changed to represent a 10% group in the whole nation of Russia. It's just strange, the change of the same word.
Well, in fact, the factory workers in Russia were probably better off than the peasants in Russia.
Yeah, that's what's weird.
Yeah, I think there was a group of historians, getting back to what Gwynberg was saying about Russian industrialisation, who emphasised the fact that Russia was industrialising at a very fast pace, particularly in the 1890s, and that some of the key areas of industry developing outside Moscow and St. Petersburg were, well, the Baku oil fields, the Donbass, a big coal mining area, and in the Urals as well. That was becoming an important centre of Russian industry. I think the motivations behind these historians might be partly to, at least for some of them, to defend what the Bolsheviks were doing, saying that Russia is not such a backward country for the developing of so-called socialism, and that there was a significant industrial base in Russia at the time of the 1917 revolution. But even if you accept that point, there'd been so much dislocation in Russia anyway, as a result of fighting the war, and such a catastrophic breakdown in transportation that you could argue that some of the development of Russia at the end of the 19th century and the early 20th century was at least lost by Russia being affected so severely as it was in the First World War.
I'm not sure when industrial production in Russia reached the levels in 1930, but sometime towards the end of the 20s, I think, isn't it?
It took a long time, certainly. Yes, I think it was somewhere around that period for we to actually recover.
Kevin? Pick up that the questions now have become a bit far-ranging from the Russian Revolution. So I'd like to ask Adam or the Socialist Party, anyone else answer, and this recent business with BA and asking people to go to work for nothing. Do you think the union should have stood up more to this? I mean, because their business really is about getting the best wages and conditions, apparently, for people that are selling their labour. And to get some people to go in and work for nothing is for me, quite extraordinary. And also ask the question, in a sense, is, you know, what is the profit or surplus value gained when someone works for nothing? And my second question is, I actually came out at the time when Jacqueline, Jackie, was asking you specific questions about abolishing poverty and hunger and all the rest of it, and I wasn't here to hear the answer to it. And if you could paraphrase, you know, if you could sort of paraphrase the answer, I'd be
great. The answer was, we're going to organise an outdoor meeting this afternoon with Danny, who's going to address.
Oh, right.
That's all I said at first.
Okay.
But I mean, she's right, of course, except I didn't agree with her about mobile phones being useless.
Well, I think the worst thing about them is you can actually change arrangements. Whereas you stood to an arrangement and you met someone at a certain time, right, so I can't get here till
Yeah, but she was saying that mobile phones in Africa were useless, but I'm not sure. They're probably quite useful because you haven't got landline telephones and things like that. Anyway, that's
well, they've got those radios, haven't they? You can just...
But, I mean, on the question of trade unionism and so on, I mean, the Socialist Party's general position is we're all in favour of workers organising into unions to get the best terms they can. But, I mean, in a slump, you know, the best terms are sometimes not very good. But personally, I can't see any member of the Socialist Party who was working for BA agreeing to work for work for nothing or anything like that. But, I don't know whether the unions have agreed to. I think the unions have been criticising it, and they're saying that people are being sort of blackmailed into this. And of course, that's the case. The employer always has the whip hand in the end. And
well, I think the comment has, you know, from what I can gather from the Times, is that they've been bullied into conforming to this, you know. But my main concern is essentially just how impotent the unions are at this time. You know, the standard is that they should be there to protect and improve the terms and conditions of the workers, and they are seemingly feeble in doing this.
Well, it's a question of, well, two things. The question of the real balance of forces of the economic situation, but it's also a question of the trade union consciousness of the people, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this other strike they had where they sacked these construction workers. I mean, they've got their jobs back. They don't at whose expense, but they've got. You know, so that if workers are prepared to stand together, they can get something, but they can't get everything they want, and they can't get a lot. I mean, it would be true if BA went into bankruptcy. I think it's probably just a threat, but if it did, they'd lose a lot more. You know, so you can see some moderate trade union leaders saying, well, this is a lesser evil and this sort of thing, but I don't think they have.